So today we want to talk a bit about what actually is therapy. Now, I did some research in general, and it boiled down to, and this is keeping it super simple, layman's language, right, is it's an opportunity to go talk to a professional therapist, somebody who's trained to help you with how to process your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your actions around whatever that subject is.
There are so many different modalities of therapy, and they all have names. And within every generation, we have new findings, and those are all very exciting and very helpful because it's a growing field, and so having an introduction of something that helps us to achieve greater results is always welcome.
So what is therapy? Now, granted, there's a lot of ways to explain it, to talk about it. Again, I did some research. This is your field of expertise in a certain realm of therapy, right? But what I kind of want to do for the listeners, for people like myself, is to say, okay, let's assume, or let's just say, I've never been to therapy, right? There's all these thoughts, these stigmas attached to therapies, and though it's getting less, but they're still there. We know this.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be, right? This is it's really no different from saying, hey, I got to go to the doctor because I'm having this, my back's hurting, right? There's no stigma to my back's hurting. What if it's my head or my emotions?
Yeah. It also depends on culture, by the way. Many different cultures are not as open to it.
Most people have never been to therapy. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they didn't realize.
Is that true? What are the statistics on how many people?
So they say, in what I looked up, they said, we talked about this last week, over 40 million people in the U.S. alone suffer from what we would call, I don't want to say extreme, what was the word you used? Like an acute form of mental health issue or concern, right? Meaning it's actually affecting your life. It's not just the normal, oh, I'm sad kind of a thing. Therapists help with all kinds of stuff, from relationships.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Some of it is acute. Some of it, people come into therapy because they're suffering.
Oh, I thought you said it was cute.
Some of it is narcissistic. Okay. So
I should look that one up.
You heard the joke about the guy who says my therapist said that that she thinks I'm a narcissist, but I think that she's just hitting on me. That's what he said. Okay. Anyway, so yeah. So some of it is acute and very behavioral. There's like something very pointed and identified that somebody wants to eradicate.
Let's be honest, guys, gals, girls, whatever out there. Life is a marathon, right? Our emotions, controlling it, dealing with the daily stresses and the challenges that we come about, and losses and all of that. It's a marathon. Like it just, one clears up, right? What did you say last week? Every emotion has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? But what does it mean when one ends, when a situation ends? It just means that we're that much closer to another one starting. And that doesn't have to be bad. If I'm showing up for my first therapy session, what does that look like? What can I expect? What's going to happen?
It depends on what type of therapist you're going to. And when I say what type, but a lot of it, there's a very wide range even within therapists. So some of it comes down to technique, some of it comes down to modality, some of it comes down to personality. Oftentimes when clients first come in to see me, we usually have some sort of a phone call beforehand. Well, we always have a phone call beforehand. And then, of course, I send them my informed consent documents, which have assessments included in them. And I have some basic idea as to why they're coming in. because if they're not for me, then I, will let them know it's not my area even before they come into my office. But I usually start my sessions with my clients by saying, so where do you want to start?
The world is moving so fast. There's so much change going on right now, and we're all dealing with this. Even those of us that are in some way, shape, or form in that industry of what I call growing forward, right? Improving ourselves often. But from a therapy, from a mental health perspective, and everything here's that we talk about comes from a mindset perspective. So it's the mindset of it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay. Like, it's not even okay. You should want to go at some point and talk through some things. Every single person, I mean, this is 100% of the people that I've ever talked to that have gone to therapy, they fell in love with it. And we'll get to that later in the show, is what's the importance of the relationship between the particular therapist and the person. But it's like anything else. Some people at your job, you're going to get along really well with. Others, yeah, maybe not so much, right? Of course, a job, sometimes you got to stick it out. With a therapist, you pick a different therapist, or, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe try to stick it out just a little bit and look at yourself and say, why don't I like this therapist? Maybe they're actually doing their job really well and really making me look at myself. No therapist is going to force me to talk about something I don't want to talk about. They're going to push me. They're going to encourage me to talk about things that are uncomfortable. That's where some of the biggest growth comes from, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, there is therapy that doesn't have some discomfort is not therapeutic. A workout that does not bring some perspiration or a little bit of ache after
Muscle pain.
Was not a great workout. Right? After we really push ourselves at the gym and the next day we're achy, how many people do we tell? Oh, I'm so sore. I'm so sore. Right? We're flexing. We're saying, we're telling everybody, I did it. I pushed myself. So we're so proud of that. Yet we don't all have that same view of mental health and our mental workout. We're not their friends. I mean, we care deeply, but it's not a friendship.
Oh, I am so glad you brought that up. Like, that is such a huge differentiating factor. Like, it's true. The way I look at it, the way I understand it to be, will a therapist be friendly? Could you potentially have someone that you can turn to for your lifetime like you would a friend? Of course. Coming back to them, even if it's just a 1 or 2 time visit because something else went on and you had a good relationship with them in the past. But to me, I think about it and I go, like, if even my friends, if they don't push me to an uncomfortable place once in a while, are they, like, how much of a friend are they? If you're watching this show, this podcast, it's because you actually have an interest in leveling up, in becoming more self-aware, in really, I'll just use the term mastering your mindset, in really getting to understand it, in recognizing what is mental health, because so many people deal with it at some level, even if we don't think it's us. We have loved ones. I don't care who you are. You have at least one person that you care deeply about that struggles with some sort of mental health concern. If I'm working with you, you're my therapist, and there's something you touch on. I walk in and you say, okay, where do you want to start? And I say, I don't really know. And you start kind of digging in a little bit. If I say, no, that's off bounds. Now what? Where do you go from here? Like, I want the listeners to understand kind of the reaction, that if they're just not ready to go there yet, do they need to be worried or afraid or standoffish that, how hard a typical therapist in an average setting may push, or where they may go? How does that work?
So rule of thumb is you meet your clients where they are.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And so if somebody is saying, I'm not ready to go there, they're not ready to go there. It doesn't mean that it won't be tomorrow or 6 months from now. But a trust has to be built. And if we are not honoring that for our clients when they come in, if they're saying, I don't want to go there, and we push and we push, it can be really damaging to the relationship. So we really have to hear that and honor it.
And it's my understanding.
I want to add one other thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And a very important and very beautiful component of that is the opportunity to say to the client in that moment, I'm glad that you told me how you're feeling. I'm glad that you said that you don't want to go there. I want to know that, and I'm glad you felt comfortable telling me that.
Just to really help listeners understand that, like, again, most people that I've talked to, many, many, many people that have gone to therapy, that literally said, like, I don't ever want to give that up. That is my safe space.
Yeah.
Like, right? I've got a spouse or this or a best friend that I can talk to certain things about. This is a person I can talk to them about anything, like any subject, places that I would never go with someone else for, a best friend or whatever for some reason, and then get professional.
Yeah. And I think
responses.
part of it is because of the confidentiality. And be mindful of what you share with your friends about your partner, your spouse, your mother, whatever that is, because you'll forgive them and you'll likely even forget and move on. Your friends will not. That'll still be there. Therapists do not give you answers to your questions of life decisions. Should I buy this house? Should I get married? Should I break up with this person? Should I quit my job and go back to school? Should I punish my child? Like, a good therapist is not there dispensing advice. That is just not. It's not our rule. It's not our job.
Not your job. Hey, you know what? That's not the job of what a coach really is either. Unless you're in sports, then a coach is your trainer, your advisor. But I guess I shouldn't get into that because that's a big point of contention in the industry because so many people that are trainers and consultants and advisors are calling themselves coaches to put a new spin on things because it's such a popular industry. And I've heard that topic being brought into therapy as well, and that you're right, that it's not like, hey, you should do this, you need to go do this. Not that some direction isn't given, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, here's a homework assignment, so to speak, or I'd like to have you do this.
Yeah.
Because you know that that's the kind of thing that's going to help somebody.
Yeah.
Mental health is such, I'm just going to say, an overlooked part of our lives. Misunderstood, or I don't even want to say misunderstood, lack of understanding. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're sharing is really helping people. It's definitely helping me understand better, and we've talked about it a little bit before, that it's a safe place. It literally is a safe place to be in a therapy session.
Yeah, it is, and it's a time where we're able to actually pause and do some introspection, and a lot of what may transpire in therapy is a time to just sort of slow down, and the therapist, because we think very quickly and we respond very quickly, and a lot of the process is slowing it down to give us greater insight into, wait, can you just back up for a second? Like, what just happened there? Like, I saw your body shift. I saw your eyes look down. It looked like you grimaced a little bit. What's going on there? To really make some space to allow the elaboration and the development of a particular experience. Again, many times people come in and they don't necessarily even have an understanding of why they don't feel okay, of what isn't working.
Yeah.
To not even have identified the problem. They just know that something, like they're just not feeling okay.
Yeah.
So slowing down a little bit and allowing not just the therapist to know you, but allowing yourself to know you, and not being fearful of that process. It's a very elegant, very beautiful process to be in therapy.
You said earlier introspection. And I was going to come back to that, but I like the way you just said it, to not only have the therapist know you, get to know you, but to help you get to know you, right? I mean, last week you talked about, it wasn't the name it to tame it, it was the concept of getting it a name, actually identifying the specific thing. So as an example, we'll call something, I don't know, mine, frustration, right? And yet if I talk to you based on some of the things we've talked about before, it's a feeling of being out of control, or it's a fear,
Yeah.
or it's all these other things, but I bulk them all together using very generic common words, which misrepresent what I'm dealing with,
Yeah.
and therefore make it virtually impossible to overcome it, or at least in a timely and an efficient manner. The reality is, most of us, and I'm not saying this in a negative or disparaging way, but so many of us in this area, we have a limited vocabulary or a limited understanding of, we've heard the words anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, depression, but we call it something that it's really not, and therefore it makes it much more difficult to address it.
Yeah.
And I know, literally, even just in the last few months, a couple of comments you've asked me, what exactly do you mean by that? Or were you trying to say this word? And I go, yeah, because I just got, honestly, not in a negative way, but I kind of got lazy with my wording on a particular topic or something. Then for you to be able to say, were you referencing this? It changes things to literally go, yeah, that's actually what I'm talking about. It really changes everything.
I use this funny example of a client who comes in and I say, so what's going on? And the client says, oh, everything is just awful. And I said, really, everything? Well, it's not everything. It's just my job. Oh, your job is really awful? I mean, actually, no, I like my job. It's just my boss. Oh, your boss is terrible. No, actually, my boss is a super cool guy. It's just that, when he drinks. Oh, is he an alcoholic? No, 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 not at all. But sometimes he drinks when he fights with his wife. Oh, okay. So they have a bad marriage? Actually, no, they have a very good marriage. It's just, every once in a while they get in a fight and he drinks too much and then he's a jerk. So, we came in with, a life problem, an occupational problem, a substance abuse problem, a marital problem, right? Like, you came in and the person's, what their presenting issue was, everything is awful. But then what we found is that it's just a very small sliver of his life is causing him some distress. Okay, right? So we can address that. Oftentimes people will say, oh, you go into therapy and you just sort of like marinate in the problem. It really isn't marinating in the problem. It's actually isolating the marinade to just one or two ingredients so you can figure out what it is and make some decisions to either make some changes or learn to live with what there is that remains. But yes, I very much agreed that this idea of being able to isolate it, really naming it, really identifying what the thing is, and then going in and really separating it and figuring out like what that actually means. But it's a process. And oftentimes we get into our own very limited loop. And so having a little bit of an interruption in the process with the therapy or another or a coach or somebody who can actually dive in there and say, hold on, slow down. Where are you going here? And I think that's really how we walk through life. We're always trying to figure out it's like a Rubik's Cube, we're always trying to figure out the pieces and how do we move, and when we move this moves that way, and when we come to some sort of an epiphany or an understanding of the way that life works, it's profound. Like we're on Oprah, like sharing our great insight, and everyone is like, jazz hands, like so thrilled to figure this out and to be able to drink up this wisdom. And so this is our own process of being able to do that. We don't need to watch it on TV. We don't need to, get life wisdom and experience exclusively from those around us. It's within us. We all have that ability. We are the experts on ourselves.
Yeah.
So allowing that, giving ourselves that gift of recognizing that the answers are really within us. And if I had to summarize the way that, or one of the beautiful components of therapy is really recognizing that it's an industry of healing ourselves, of being able to use ourselves, our own brains, our own bodies, our own insights to gain a better level of functioning, a better way of feeling, a better way of being in relationship, better way of communicating. So if we are fortunate enough to have clinicians who can support us in that journey, then it makes it a lot easier.
Don't allow a negative mindset, a negative belief, a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, someone else's poor experience keep you from doing something for you. Something that literally can change your life for the better.
Yeah.
Right? For the better. That's the key. Life holds all kind of change. Not all change is for the better.
Yeah.
That is the point of therapy. And there's no reason not to, I'll say, check it out, not to give it a try. There just isn't. There's so much opportunity out there. So, as we say, I don't know what platform you'll be watching or listening on, but if there is any way to join in comments on the platform you watch, please share some things in the comments.